You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Podcast.
Welcome to Ride With Me. Today is March... Oh, wait, I'm already messing up. Welcome to Ride With Me, episode 91. Today is March 11, 2023. And today's guest, again, Marlena.
Hey, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. Just sitting here in my gym clothes. I didn't even have time to shower or anything. Went to the gym this morning. Actually, I've been up since 1:30 in the morning. There's a lot of, when you have a lot of stuff in your mind, the moment, all I did was get up to use the restroom. Mm-hmm. And I went to bed, and something came into mind, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I've been up since 1:30. I saw some TikTok. I watched some TikToks, and then I saw one of the my brother-in-law's wife. She shared a video of the movie Night at the Roxbury's. And that's what I ended up doing. That's what I ended up doing. I wanted to watch that movie. I put it on like at 2 a.m, and then I went to the pharmacy at 5 a.m.
Oh shoot! What an eventful day already.
Right, and it's barely 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Yeah, no.
Oh my God, that's right.
It's just like I said, when I go to bed early. Doesn't matter the day of the week. I'll go to bed early. If there's nothing scheduled for us to do, I'll go to bed early. If the kids want to play Fortnite till freaking 1 o'clock in the morning, and if I have the energy, if they want me to play with them, then I'll play with them. But if not, I mean, that's just taking up space. So I go to bed, and I woke up at 1:30. I felt fully rested, and I just went. It's funny because I went to the living room and I sat down. And like 5 minutes later, I hear footsteps. There comes the wife. And she's, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't go back to sleep. She's like, and she went back to bed.
I have that too. It feels like it's my natural clock. Like I am on like some medication to sleep, and I don't take it very often because I feel like it's a very deep sleep. But I do, my natural body clock says, because I take that medication at 7, and even if I don't take it, it's my routine, I assume too. But by 9 o'clock, I'm laying down. By 10 o'clock, I am completely out. But then I get up like clockwork at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And on the weekends, it's hard to kind of like surpass that or to kind of hit my natural snooze clock, because this morning, the same thing. I was up at 5 this morning thinking I needed to get breakfast ready. I got my dog up. We did our whole routine, and I realized, dude, it's Saturday. Like, you should be sleeping in. My husband's like, I'm trying to sleep in. I'm like, it's already 8 o'clock in the morning.
The thing with me is that when I have something that's bothering me, something that's on my mind, that if it's either like work related or a problem with the family member or the wife or whatever,
it just weighs on you.
I'll go and I'll just go on my, if I have no one to talk to, I'll go on my email and I'll prep this email. Yeah. It's never to send. It's just to get it off my chest. At the moment, it's on my mind, and I have to get it off my chest. So this morning, no people can't really see it, but you can. In the morning, I sat up at, like I said, 2 a.m, and I'm writing all of this. You can't
That's
see
quite a list you got there. You had a lot on your mind.
So I had to, like I said, I write it down, and then I just gone. It's not like. It's not
a form of journaling.
Exactly. So I have like 4 emails that are prepped that
it's therapeutic.
That I've never sent. I have one for my wife that I wrote like a year ago. It's still there.
Do you have one to your boss already written up?
No, only because the boss that I have now, he's pretty chill, but no, I have. It's funny because I'm known in the family as the paragraphs, like the essay, when it comes down to when I need to get something off my chest.
Say what you're feeling.
There, like I said, there was an email a text message that I sent like a month ago. That took me a whole hour to write.
Oh gosh.
And make sure that grammar was correct, and my point was being sent. It was being sent. They were going to understand the point of my message.
Got across.
You mean
it.
And yeah, I mean, I wrote one of those text messages again yesterday, and I had to send it. It was something was brought up to my attention that I did, that I was unaware that I did. So I'm like, okay, well, it needs to get addressed. I believe in, if a fire gets started, it needs to be put out. So I sent, it came to my attention.
Composed a message.
It came to my attention that I was somewhat rude to an individual. So I'm like, okay, then if you don't want to have to hear BS, if you don't want this to be an issue that's being brought up to your attention on a daily basis, then the least I can do is apologize to this individual. And I did. I sent a nice little message and explaining my actions, and they responded back with, hey, no need to apologize, understandable, blah, 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 blah. There we go. A fire was put out. Communication. And you completely cut off. There you are.
You did too. We both did at the same time. So we froze at the same time.
Communication is a key.
Communication.
To everything.
We heard each other though. That's right. You said a fire was just put out because you sent that email.
Yeah.
And that's true. Communication. That is right. I like it. I'm so glad that you were able to compose yourself in that type of manner, because some people aren't able to process those thoughts, especially writing those thoughts. Like you keep mentioning, like you've said in the past that, and I'm only going to say it because you've said it, you're like, I'm not educated, or I learned Spanish first. Yeah. I learned English. For you to be so concerned with the grammatical errors.
Yeah.
It's just, and then you're writing these passages. I like, choose your battles, my brother. Choose your battles.
Yeah. No, I the beautiful thing is that I feel that I've learned to write better with text messaging. And now this new system actually corrects your grammar for you.
Yeah. So you like it. Yeah, I did too. So just quick thought on that. I was on another podcast the other day, and we were talking about AI and technology influencing. And we were also brought up the comment about AI being able to finish a poet or artist's thought. So like sometimes a writer becomes writer blocked. Do you think it's okay for an AI to finish those thoughts? And if so, do you think it's plagiarism? Like once you submit that?
I mean, if we go to the whole situation where the kids are in school and they're using AI to finish their homework for them, that's not good.
See, yeah, I know. And then my daughter just told me yesterday, so in the state of Texas, they have to have their state assessments. They call it here the STAR test. Before it used to be called the TOS test. And it's a standardized testing to see where the kids place. And it's like some certain grades don't have to take it. But they find out where the kids are placing. And she said, Mom, did you know that they're going to start doing the writing portion? And they score up like 1 through 4, like 1 being the worst and 4 being the best or whatever. And she says that they're going to start using AI to read those passages. And automatically, if the first and end aren't in, or don't go how it's supposed to be, like say, capital letters, started off with a paragraph, and she was going like conclusion, thesis, and I was going, okay. And it's going over my head, I'm kind of just like, what is she talking about? And then it kind of dawned on me, I never passed those because nobody's ever explained it to me. She's explaining it to me, but they're going to start using AI. And before that, people were reading it. AI is going to be reading it, automatically giving zeros to those that don't comply with its form.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, what the hell? I go, that's not fair. I was like, that's not fair, because back in the day, people had compassion, like, oh, this person tried, or I see what she was trying to say, or, and these guys still have to write it out, pen and paper, put it down, pencil to paper. And I said, what if their penmanship's not on point? Like that AI, I mean, I understand that it's created to, but it also grow. I was like, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
I was like, that's dangerous.
I believe we kind of caught on with my son, the 14-year-old, that he was kind of using somewhat to finish his homework, and we checked him on that one. No,
shoot.
my oldest, he did that last year or 2 years ago in band. He found like a video on YouTube and somehow made the audio sound like it was from him. Yeah. And
and he was submitting that as his work. Get out of here. I mean, it's genius, but like when you go to play it in person and you don't sound like that, they're going to be like, what?
Well, the teacher caught on, right? The teacher caught on, and he
of course he did.
He brought it to our attention, and I told him, mijo, cheating at the moment tastes good, right? It tastes good, right? But in the long run, it's going to bite you in the ass, dude. And he never did it again, but yeah, it's amazing. It's a trip with technology. I mean, look what we're doing. We're podcasting, and you're not even here on my couch.
Yeah, it's true, man. I know, it's crazy. Like, when my daughter first started, she like in the big like kindergarten and stuff, she would always tell me, because she's dyslexic, and for a while it was hard to try to figure out that learning point. I'm sorry. oh, how do I help her? Because I didn't know she was dyslexic. Again, one of those things you don't talk about. They chalked you up as being stupid or ignorant if you couldn't read. They never try to figure out what it was. So I didn't know what dyslexia was. I knew it had something to do with numbers, but didn't know the extent of it. So, and not that I was calling my daughter stupid, but I was getting frustrated because it came easy to my son and not so easy with her, and I didn't know how to help. And that being said, she came, Mom, why do I even need this if my iPad does it for me? Watch. And that's how I learned that iPad, you could just touch it and talk into it, and it would do everything for you, and Siri and blah, blah. And I was like, and then to find out that they introduced iPads in kindergarten, shoot, she was passing with flying colors until her first grade teacher was like, wait a minute, I think she might have dyslexia. And I was like, how do you know? I was like, because I've been thinking that. And she was like, because I have dyslexia and I can see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're the person that I've been waiting to talk to, because I don't, I kind of just like threw my hands up in the air and said, God, let it be on her time that she learns, because I don't know what to do to help. And now, I always brag on my daughter because she's genius. She's top 10% in our district. I'm not talking about in her class. I'm talking about in thousands and thousands. I'm talking about district. And in math, she's top 10%. I think she scored the highest in her math scores.
Well, the reason why I hate to read out loud is because when I was in high school, I would, when the teacher calls on you to read part of the chapter or whatever, I messed up a word, and somebody made fun of me for that. And I'm not really good at, I wasn't good at that. I'm like, I took that, really embarrassing and very offensive. And like at work, there's sometimes at work they have something on the wall, and it's time for certain, they make us help read the statement, right? So I'm kind of going based on what guy they start with to which sentence I'm going to have to read,
so that you prepare yourself.
So I'm not even paying attention to what they're saying. Yeah. I'm focusing on which one's going to be my paragraph, and I'm reading it over and over and over and over, so that I don't sound like an idiot when I read it out loud. Yeah. But then you hear other guys that are also, guys older than me or around my age, kind of struggling. Yeah. Then I don't feel as bad, Yeah. But yeah, no, that I get what you're saying about the
See, my uncle can't read, and he can read. He can read, but I think with technology, it's improved his reading skills tremendously. Because he used to where he wouldn't text at all. Now I see him texting out, or I see him like on Facebook. I see him responding in comments or posting stuff and having to put a caption, and it makes me so proud because I know how hard he struggled, and I know that technology has been a lifesaver for him too. So I'm for technology, but when it comes to AI and is it going to help with plagiarism? Just something as simple as math. My son was talking about math, and you remember those old T9 calculators he used to have, the big gray ones for like calculus?
Oh, yeah. I never understood those things.
Because I'm not math. And my son will have to take AP algebra and calculus and all those numbers, whatever it is. And he was talking about the technology they're going to be able to use and how much easier, simplified it is. And I was like, well, shit, if I would have had that type of technology growing up and not having to put pencil to paper and having to memorize these formulas, memorize the way that it's supposed to be laid out, I might have been a little bit more successful in life. Well, not even that. I am successful in life. But it's gone easier for me.
When I see my boys doing homework that's math, if it's math homework, I asked them, dude, you're supposed to show your work. Yeah. Remember, we had to show our work.
You had to show your work.
No. As long as they have the right answer. And then I hear my son. I'm going to use a bad example, but the example of what he does. Alexa, what's 5 plus 5? And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you asking? Dude, that's simple math, bro. I can't even. I think he said like, what's 12 times 5? And I was like, 60. He's like, 12 times 5 is 60. I beat Alexa. Yeah. And he's like, he looked at me like, mijo, I count for a living, bro. I count for a living.
That's right. I remember having to count. I hate doing inventory for alcohol. Yeah. I hate that. And you're in the cooler. And then what's sad is if you're doing it during business hours and people keep taking it out from the cooler, if it's during buying time. So, like, I just counted that, bro. It's like, you're taking it. I was like, now I got to go back and count. And I'm not good with numbers. So you're probably like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm probably like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And there's times where I get a phone call from, like, I think at one point I was talking to you, or Ricky calls me, or my best friend, my buddy Roger, who I don't give him enough credit on the podcast, and I'll get to that right
Roger.
now. I'll get on that right now. And he and there's times when I'm hold on because I'm counting, right, and I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if I see the pattern 2, 4, 6, 8, or 3, 2, 9, blah, blah, and I'm just, but I count for a living, and I like the only math that I know when it comes to figuring out percentages or figuring out like equations or whatever, or you're supposed to send 60% of your order on this delivery and 40% of your order this delivery. So how do you figure out the math? You write the whole order and then you deduct 60% of it and you send it on the first delivery. So, like I said, the only math I know is because of what I do.
That's right.
When we're at work,
experience.
When we're at work and they're talking numbers, this prices, percentages, la 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 la. I feel like Alan in The Hangover where he sees numbers all over the place. Like, no. You guys need to shut up. I need to write it down because I get lost.
I got to see this.
I get lost. I get lost.
Me too.
So, but yeah, no, it's like when it comes to, like I said, simple math, like I believe that was the question because I knew the answer. Like, it's a 60, bro. Like, what are you asking Alexa for? Ask your dad.
Yeah.
That's because you didn't go to school, Dad. But he's just joking.
Yeah. That's just how they tease us because my daughter will say the same. Like, she used to come for me for all the literature, all the other stuff, poetry, like English, science. But then when it came to maths, she'd be like, Dad, because Mom is a no. Like, and it's true. My husband's like, he could, he's one of those people who pull out that measuring tape and read it like super fast. I'm like, how the hell did you read it? Because I'm still going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's how many in the inch? I'm like 3/4 what? My daughter is like, she's great with fractions and decimals and still for me, I think because I never really had time to like. It was just so hard for me. It was so hard. In fact, I have a buddy of mine that I just connected with on Facebook. Shout out to my buddy Michael Pike, man. He was my buddy growing up. He got me through. I was telling him, I said, dude, do you know that you got me through a lot of stuff in school? I said, because I didn't know half of it, but he'd slide me his homework, be like, that's today's homework. And dude, this guy knew some math. Like he knew what was up. So having him in my corner was a blessing to me because I didn't know, and I wasn't absorbing the information like everyone else, I guess. I felt smart, but I was grateful to Michael because he passed me his homework, and and that's how I got through it.
Yeah, no, I tell the kids now not to like. My son got in trouble one day for helping. You know about the AR points, right? The reading points, AR.
Yeah. Okay. Ours is something different, but yeah.
So he read the book. He had finished reading the book. He already did his AR. He already did the test, and he passed. So his friend was doing the same AR points, and Jojo, my son Jojo, was giving his son the answers. I mean, my son was giving his friend the answers. Oh,
it's like you read a book and you do the test on the computer. I remember, we did that. Yes.
So he gave his friend the answers, and my son got caught, and so they gave me a call, and you're done. Technically, your son, it's cheating, but technically. It's not that bad. I'm like, okay, so you're still calling me, lady. What's the problem?
Yeah, like what the
problem is? What the problem is? Well, he was giving his classmate the answers so that he can hurry up and go play outside.
That's why.
Yeah. So.
My daughter one time, it's funny because she said that she's had pretty much the same group of kids growing up, first, second, third, fourth grade, whatever. And there's always been a little girl that she's kind of helped in the process, because she's that kind of person she is. Well, this last year they were doing some testing, and or was it this year? I cannot remember. But the story goes is that the little girl this entire time has been cheating off of her. So my daughter got smart one time. So she put the wrong answer first, let her cheat, and then go back and put the right answer. So she's like, and I only do that, Mom, because it was last year. Because she's a liar. Like, because she's my friend, and I'm tired of having to make new friends because I don't like liars. And when they lie to me once, I'm out. She's like, but this little girl, I can't. She's like, I'm tired of making new friends. Everybody just doesn't know how to act. She's like, and this one little girl, I see potential in her, but she cheats and she's a liar, Mom. And she's like, and watch, I'm going to get her one time. And that brings up two stories. So this one's funny, though. So she did. So on a major test, they were next to each other on a computer. So same questions, same everything. So my daughter put all the wrong answers. The little girl copied it and took off to go play. My daughter sat there, went back and did all the right answers, and then went out and played. So she told me, she said, and guess what, Mom? She got a 30, and she was all upset, and she and wondered why, because she cheated off me, and and I had 100, and I was like, Danielle, she's like, but she learned her lesson. She's like, she learned her lesson. And the first thing was about stealing, like, it was about stealing pencils. Like, I obviously ordered these specific pencils for my daughter, these mechanical pencils. And when my daughter she got sick one day and was sent home. So the little girl was asked, since you're the best friend, could you please gather her things together and take them to the office? Well, the little girl pocketed the pencils.
Oh, shit.
And my daughter was sick for a few days. And she's like, Mom, I don't know. My pencils are. Maybe they're in my desk. So one day she goes back to school after being sick and she sees a little girl using her pencils. And she says, those are my pencils. And she goes, no, my sister gave me these pencils. She's like, no, those are my pencils. She's like, those are my pencils. And she goes, no, my sister. My daughter goes, you know what, Mom? I let her have the pencils. It wasn't worth it. I know you'll buy me some more pencils.
How old is your daughter?
I was like, good girl. At the time, she was only 10, but she's 11, about to be 12. So that's how my daughter is.
I cut you off. Good girl, yeah. Very good girl.
So let me tell you what she did this past couple of weeks. Somebody in her PE has been stealing her water. They've been stealing her water bottle cada dia, every day. My daughter takes a brand new water bottle and takes it in there, right? So every time she comes back from doing circuits, her water's gone. So she takes a few sips out before she goes out to do circuits and leaves it in her bag. She said for 3 weeks, somebody's been stealing her water. It's been stealing it. So she's like, I went and told my teacher. My teacher said there's nothing I could do about it because my name's not on the water bottle. And she said, okay, all right. So then she says, so what she did, she said, I talked to my friend and we devised a plan. What she did was she opened up the label, wrote her name on it, and closed it back. She's like, I was trying to figure out who it is. I have an idea who it is. She's like, but this person's been absent for an entire week. So now she's back into PE class and I'm going to figure it out. She's like, and I said, you know why she was out? She says, yeah, she was sick. I said, Danielle, weren't you sick last week?
Oh,
she
shit.
Goes, oh, Mom, I was. I go, you were sick, right? She's like, yeah, I was sick, but I went to school because I didn't run a fever. I said, she's probably sick and really, really taking it for what it is. I go, but you fought it. And she goes, yeah. I go, that's why she's out. She goes, that's why she was out, Mom, because she's sick, but she's back. Watch. So she goes, and my plan is that I'm going to go tell the teacher again when it's gone. I'm going to go tell the teacher. But this time I'm going to say, teacher, can you make everybody take their labels off their water? Nice. And when she goes to reveal, it's going to be her name on there. And I was like, dude, that is so clever. Yeah. I was like, I would have never thought of that. I was like, you were genius. She's like, oh, I know. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you? She said, because I know that if I would have told you, you were going to text my coach. And then you're going to get it taken care of. She's like, I wanted to take care of it my own way. She's like, plus I don't want any drama. She's like, in this way, the little girl never knows that I'm the one who caught her. She's like, I'll just say somebody keeps taking my water bottle. And this time my name is on it. I said, damn, girl, I love you. I was so proud of you. I was like, oh, that's my little home. What's her name's? Iola Holmes?
Iola Holmes? Yeah, Iola Holmes.
Yeah. I was like, dude, girl, you're genius. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's pretty smart, man. So I'm going to do that every time Ricky comes to my house and do that to shit, Even though I try to steal his radio from his house, but I'm going to do that to my stuff. Oh, shit. Good to know.
Isn't it genius? I was just like, that is so close. She's like, and nobody gets offended. She's like, the teacher's the one who has to call her out. She's like, and I can just be, she's like, and I'll have the hugest smile on my face. She's like, because I would have, solved the whole thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing with my beers when Roger comes over. Even though I give them to him, I still want to catch him in the act, That's a good idea.
Hey, well, he's heard the podcast now, so...
Actually, he doesn't listen. He's been on it my buddy Roger's been on it multiple times, but he doesn't listen. He was more concerned about who you were, and I'm like, you're talking to women, Andy? Like, does Letty know about her? I'm like, Letty knows about everybody who comes on the podcast. Like, he's like, but how did you have her there? I'm like, over the phone? Ooh, over the phone, Andy? That's even worse. Like, oh my God, dude.
Okay, for you guys who can't watch this because y'all are going to listen, I am turning beet red.
He did that. Like I said, he does that to every time he hears a female. When I put the little promo, every time it's a female, he questions, does Letty know about her? What's going on here?
Funny. Like, she's such a good sport.
And that's why I told him, but dude, she spoke to my wife. Like, my wife, she knows what I'm doing. And and he's like, I told my wife, babe, well, the first time, not the one with the last guest before you came on. I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. Z. When Z came on the podcast, he calls me and he tells me, like, who the hell is this girl, bro? Does Letty know about her? And I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, I came home, babe. You don't have to worry about it, babe. Roger's got your back. And my wife's like, Roger doesn't have my back. He's just fucking stirring the pot.
What is that? What's that Spanish song? Como mayonesa.
Yeah. He just likes to stir the pot, and
it's all right. It's all fun and games.
I gotta come on a podcast soon, and I told him, dude,
if you only knew what I look like on the podcast.
I told him he wants to come on. I'm like, dude, but every time you come on, it's like we're trying to have a serious conversation, and you forget certain topics, like because there was a topic where he told me it's time to hang my gloves, and we'll get into that about boundaries. He told me to hang your gloves. That's it, Andy. You've done your part with your brothers. It's time to hang your gloves.
That's right.
So we're here having a podcast conversation. We're on the podcast talking about it, and while I'm recording, this guy completely forgot he ever told me that. He completely forgot he ever told me that.
I forgot to put my stuff on silent mode.
No worries.
So you heard a ting.
Oh, no, I didn't hear it. But I said,
okay.
The last thing I said was that he completely forgot that, what he came on the podcast for. So that he ever told me that. So that was my first introduction to setting boundaries was hang your gloves.
That kind of leads into what we're talking about today, setting boundaries. So that's good. That's positive. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Roger, we're looking forward to talking with you.
I think I'm going to put this part as the intro.
He'd like that for sure.
He probably would.
There's your 15 seconds because that's how long the TikToks are.
Right.
Is it 15 seconds?
30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. Ooh, okay, 30 seconds. He's like, I like to live a little bit longer. That's funny. Yeah, creating spaces, man. Isn't that crazy how we never were taught really how to create spaces? I saw today a video on a little kid who was playing soccer, and it's a mix, a unisex soccer team. So boys and girls were on the team, and a little girl gets her kick blocked. But in the process, little boy kind of like elbows her in the face, and it upsets her. She's only 3 years old, so he quickly goes up to her and grabs her, and he pats her on the back, looks at her, but then kisses her, and like on the lips, cheek. But she wipes it away. But he grabs her and he holds her and he's hugging her. Well, everybody in the comment section were like, "Oh, he's showing compassion. He's showing compassion. It's very sweet. His parents are raising him right. You know, all of these." Well, I made a comment that I don't think that that's showing compassion. I think that, like, especially in sports, I think that if you injure somebody, I think sportsmanlike is asking the player if they're okay, or your teammate if they're okay, and seeing that they're okay and following through with that. But to actually physically, like, I get some people need embraces, but if you're okay with that, like, do you need a hug? I understand they were 3 years old, but where is that behavior learned and taught? He had no boundary, didn't know space or boundaries, and maybe he shouldn't kiss her. And maybe she didn't want to be kissed or held that tightly. Even if all the spectators believe that it was cute and innocent, it's about learning those boundaries. If I would have known some of those boundaries, I called the bubble when my daughter was growing up. And as a Hispanic, we talk about your family. I don't know if, well, I say as a Hispanic because I feel like that's our culture. My grandma would always say, dale un abrazo, or saluda a su tío, dale, all this, a tu tía, or did you all wake up together, go say hi? That's how it was always that. And always hugging, or, if the particular aunt or uncle was into it, they probably kissed your cheek or your face. And that led to not being, that's setting boundaries. Like, I wouldn't let my daughter, just because of the things that happened to me, not knowing boundaries and not being able to set those boundaries with people. I think that it happens in childhood. It's a learned trait from childhood. And I think that you carry that on through adult. And in the personal spaces with relationships, like your in-laws or your brothers or sisters, aunts or uncles, there's always a boundary. And just, like you said, you said it was Roger said he was going to hang his gloves.
Well, he told me to hang my gloves.
Yeah, you to hang your gloves. He told you to hang your gloves. It's just, it's a matter of boundaries and stepping into that step. Like, when do you teach that? When's appropriate to teach that? Right?
It's a trick. We have it. It wasn't. We had a conversation. I had a conversation with my wife a couple weeks ago, and the conversation ended up ending. It got heated. Not where we're yelling at each other, but the conversation got hot. And then when I went to bed, my son comes. He always gives me a kiss on the cheek, and he always says good night. And I responded to him, "Mijo, learn from this." learn from this that we need to have more communication. Like I said, it was about whatever. There's been a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunication, not enough boundaries going around lately. That's what the conversation was about, and I just my son heard the conversation, so that's why I'm like, Mijo, learn from this. Gotta learn from this.
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular situations, I think boundaries and spaces apply in every situation in life.
Yep.
So in discipline. So I don't know what you were talking to your son about in particular, but discipline, I feel like if there's a space or boundary there, communication, if you feel like your child you said, the cheating thing, let's just go back on that. If you talk that out with your son instead of coming home and beating him because he did it, getting in trouble, that's a communication. That's setting up a good boundary, good space, a good talking space. Why did instead of getting angry with him immediately?
And you're right, because there's situations like us growing up. I would have got my ass whooped for that phone call. My mom got a phone call about, hey, your son is helping another student cheat. Even though I was kind of in a way doing it with a good heart, I'm still gonna come home to get my ass whooped. So there's certain reasons, you don't really have to hit the kid or a child for especially for that one. Like I said, back to us growing up as kids, we got our asses whooped.
Yeah, I didn't. My grandmother would spank me. Like, I got it. Like, and I would never do that to my kid. And I think, I say never, but I think I spanked my son once and regretted it ever since. And I think I did it to spite my mom. And but I think it's indicative on who's raising you and who should give, what is it called? Give that discipline. I don't want to say distribute because that sounds funny. But I would get in trouble. We'd get in trouble, but it wasn't. My mom wouldn't get on to me that hard, as far as disciplining that hard. It was my uncles who would do that, and that's a space, a boundary that was crossed. Like, if I did something wrong, I felt like my uncles or my aunts should have said something to my mom or the people raising me, like my grandmother and my mom, to give me the proper guidance. One particular incident, my uncle. My cousin had said that I said a cuss word, but at that time I was probably 7 or 6 years old, and I don't remember cussing then. I was, raised in a Christian household, but my cousin would come and visit, and we were playing Barbies, and another cousin heard or may have heard, but the end result was that Marlena said the word "fuck you," and I went and told my uncle. And my cousin was like, yes, she said it. She said it. So between my uncle and my aunt, they took me to the house and put me over the kitchen sink. And they shoved a Zest bar of soap in my mouth. And were making me my uncle was putting my hand in, his hand on my chin and my head, making me bite the thing. And he was like, swallow it, chew it up. You're not going to be cussing. You're not going to be cussing, or wash that out of your mouth. And my aunt was over here laughing, giggling at, the way he was disciplining me. And I brought that story to my mom. And I was like, I never heard that. I was like, exactly, because they enjoyed what they did to me. I think I thought that's abuse. If you'd ever done that to one of their kids at this age, I'm 38 years old. I could never imagine doing that to a 7 or 8 year old.
They took putting a bar of soap in your mouth to a whole extreme,
and I
huh?
I have such a phobia of even the smell. How you go down the aisle of soap and you smell the Zest soap
PTSD.
So strong. The Irish Spring Zest soap is what the Zest soap. It's in the blue one I'm at. That
soap has a distinct smell. Yes.
Yeah, and they made me over the sink, and he had my hand. He was like, "And you shouldn't be cussing," and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Did it?" And I was like, "Mom," and my mom was like, "I can't believe they did that to you." I said, "Yeah. Do you think they were going to tell you that they did that to me?" I go, "That's child abuse. You don't tell somebody when you abuse somebody else's kid." And then he was the same uncle who did that. One time we were all playing outside, and the same cousin who said I cussed said that I flipped off somebody else, and he wasn't having it. So he made my mom beat me with a belt until she was tired. And it wasn't even that. It was until he was finished screaming at me. And my mom sat there, and I was bent over this. I remember this stupid freaking bunk bed. I hate bunk beds. And I was bent over the bottom bunk, and my mom had this belt that was enlaced with this metal twine. It was my uncle's belt. and it had his last name on it. And I had these whelps on my butt forever, and she was spanking me. And I don't even think she was crying because I don't think she comprehended, but it was like she did it because she was told, and he was telling her, and he was her brother. And she was doing it, you know, listening to him. And I'm just like, I remember crying, and for days, I had those whelps on my ass for days. I go, Mom, do you remember that? She's like, no. I said, how could you block something like that out? She's like, I just did. And I said, that's like two major things in my life that have haunted me. Like, how could you let somebody, like my uncle alone, like do that to me? It's like your brother coming and disciplining your child for cheating.
Yeah, that
or saying the cuss word.
You know what's funny is that when I first started dating my wife, and actually I think it was after we were already married, she kind of started getting more like disciplining the kids, right? But not in a way where she's beating them, or because even she hated when I spanked them. So when she's lecturing them or whatever, and I feel that she's coming a little too hard on them, and I get like, fuck, man, like, you know, like I get annoyed because I feel like she's going off on my kids. I'm taking that as a flashback, you know.
Yeah,
it's funny because Roger also said, you know what, Letty is hard on the boys, but these kids nowadays need that because we don't see it as much. That's why kids are out there running amok. It's okay to lecture a child, but the whole beating thing, like I was beat with a freaking cordon to the iron. I was beat with I got a broom broken on my back, and then she said, "Here, go buy another one so I can do it again." And you know, so those are the extreme kind of beatings. She never got influenced by anybody to beat my ass. She just did it because she fucking wanted to.
Well, my grandma would spank us with, like you said, with the extension cord too, or the whatever she can get her hands on, a hanger even. You know, she'd break those plastic ones on our backside all the time. You know, that's if she was frustrated. But I don't think we ever did anything really, really bad. I mean, talking back, we'd get a whooping. You know, I didn't want to talk bad. If you lied, you got a spanking. I didn't want to because at the hand of my grandma, it was already bad. And then I told you last time that my grandfather put his hand down on me. You know, that discipline, I mean, that space, like, where was that line drawn? And why did anybody say anything? Like my mom, I told my mom too, I said, she's like, she heard the podcast. She said, Marlena, I didn't know that dad did that to you. And I said, because why were they going to tell you? It was normal. It was acceptable. She's like, I didn't know. I didn't have any idea. Of course she didn't, because why were they going to tell you? You know? Right. It's like he enjoyed being treated, you know, that's how he did it. And I enjoyed it, but that's how he did it. And that's how y'all were raised. And that's how grandma was used to seeing. And she was freaking out. I said, but it's an environment. We talk about product and environment and generational curses. You know, my grandma didn't know what to do. Nobody said anything to you. And in fact, it's funny because I innocently posted something on Facebook the other day about a question. Have you ever shared anything too personal with somebody? And if you did, what was the outcome? And, you know, how did that make you feel? It was something like that. And I didn't have any intentions on it. And my aunt replied that, you know, as a child, she was told to always keep quiet. And if she said anything, that they would get spanked. That just invoked a whole lot of things of, well, you should have said something because my childhood and maybe the childhood of my other cousins could have been differently. You know, you should have said something. You should have spoke up. Like, there's just so many things that you didn't say that you could have said. And maybe things wouldn't have happened, you know, in my life. I'm grateful because of who I am and the experiences, but I'm not happy about how I got to become who I am. Right. I mean, nobody really is truly, but some people can say I've never been molested, or some people can say I've never been raped. And it's so sorry that I had that story, and some people try to shut you up with it.
That's true. That's 100% correct. Because my brother opened up about something on my podcast, and because he did it on my podcast, I was the asshole. He opened up about something that happened to him, but I'm the asshole.
Well, and it's not fair to be labeled an asshole because I was labeled a liar. And it was so sad because at a young age, I was already being molested, and I was already being groomed and being molested by my uncle. And when I spoke up and I told an aunt and my grandmother, they told me, cállate porque eres mentirosa. And then when it came to fruition, it came to fact that my uncle was actually molesting my cousins, my aunt started to speak about it more. And I said something again. And they both said, no, you're not. You're lying. And it's so crazy because without me saying much, like God's answering, like people are coming forth and saying stuff like that's true, like that validating, I guess, validation. And that's why I say people should talk and speak up, because 20 years later, I'm getting validation. You know, it happened to me when I was a little girl. You know, the guy even died and you still knew, like my aunts held on to a piece of information for 20 years. And when your podcast came out, I don't know if this person heard, but ran into her and asked her and questioned her about it. And my aunt was forced to just speak truth on what she knew in front of another aunt who this entire time has been denying the whole thing have existed. Another aunt, meanwhile, says that even if somebody was baptized, that the Bible said that those sins were just washed away and sunk to the bottom of the sea, but that doesn't take the action away from the victim. And not hearing validation from family, I think, is hurtful. And not speaking and not saying, okay, I knew that for a very long time. I knew what they were saying was truth, in fact, factual, and could have prevented something from happening. But I bet my tongue because he said he was going to, do something bad to me, or something ill was going to happen to me. But yet that person's gone and dead. And then the person who witnessed it's gone and dead. And when I came out, you still didn't say anything. Like, how do you let it fester that much? You don't let something fester like that. I think that you should believe children. I think that's where the boundaries and bubbles and all that should be set. Like, I think that from young.
Well, I did ask my sister for this for permission. I spoke to her on Tuesday and I said, hey, there's a topic that's going to get brought up on my podcast, but since it didn't happen to me and it happened to you, is it okay if I use you as an example? And she said, yes, I'm okay. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details, but okay, cool. Something happened. Obviously, 16-year-old girl. We can all imagine and know where I'm going with this. And when she spoke up and sadly she told our mother, hey, your current boyfriend is raping me.
Yeah. Man.
My sister came off as a liar, where she pretty much, it happened for 2 whole years. That at 18 she up and left. Yeah. I didn't see her for 13 years because she didn't just go to the next city over. She fucking took off to Illinois.
Yeah. And I feel like, so I was raped by the uncle that was molesting me. And I actually spoke out and all this was coming out. And it was all coming out. And everybody was saying I was lying. And when he actually went forward, he raped me. And I don't want to get into details here, but
I can already hear it in your voice that it's bothering you.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not your happy preppy girl right now.
When he did it, I tried to say something and I couldn't get the words out. He told my grandmother afterwards, after he had raped me. I was even fully dressed afterwards. I tried to tell my grandmother that something was wrong. And talk about boundaries in space. He told my grandmother that I was possessed by the devil. And we were about to go to church. I always mention about being in Pentecostal church. And that particular evening, it was 4th of July and we were all supposed to go to church like usual. And like me, nonetheless, I went and got dressed and I left my clothes laying on the bed in the room adjacent. When I got out of the shower, I didn't, like I'd done thousands and million times before, I just went straight to the room to get dressed. When he went in after me and raped me, and I blacked out. When I came to, he was telling my grandma that I saw the demon. I was possessed and scared. My grandma was like, dale un abrazo a tu tío. And I was like, and I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to tell her and crying and I couldn't get it out. And she's like, we got to go to church. Ya se hace tarde, dale un abrazo a tu tío. And she was praying for me because she thought I was truly possessed. And she was trying to get me to church so they could pray for me. And then I didn't want to. And then he said, come give me a kiss. And I looked at him and I was like, looked at him dead in the eyes. And I was like, why? And he was like, because it makes me feel good. And then I reached up and I kissed him on the lips and I walked out and we went to church. And I was just like shut down after that. I was like, nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to say, I tried to say something. There was just like, from then on, I was labeled a liar. And like I was I was the liar of the family. And my aunts frowned upon me. Nobody wanted to be around me. My aunt said that because I was a liar, nobody wanted to be around me anymore.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that makes me sad. And I promised I wouldn't get upset. But I feel like had people talked up, said something, I feel like it wouldn't have got that far. He felt like he had authority. He could do it. He felt power. He felt power. And I think that, I won't say the person who witnessed it. I mean, it just, who didn't witness the rape, but witnessed him putting his hand up my skirt. He's gone now. But he was severely injured by my uncle because he was be told to keep quiet. And I understand my aunt's frustration, my aunt's upset that she might also suffer the same consequence. But I felt like if she'd spoke up a little bit more and kind of wanted to get that message across, because my uncle got his daughters out of the town. He knew, and he got them out. And I felt like if my aunt would have just tried a little harder, I wouldn't have had to have gone 20 years with such hurt. And even if I say, yes, just recently on your podcast, I was like, I let it go. I'm able to speak up because of what had happened. I think with this new information, it just made me just more want to get my message of creating that space, creating that bubble, creating a space where people can talk, where it's okay to talk to your family, where it's okay to let them know, even if it's the smallest things, like my daughter, trying to figure out who stole her water bottle. I think opening the conversation and the door to just the littlest things, it makes them more comfortable to be able to speak about, hey, this happened. This is happening to me. This is going on. And believing somebody. I think that's important, is that whenever children speak, I think we should believe, even if it sounds ridiculous or if it sounds asinine. Because it said I got raped and then I couldn't do shit anymore. Like, I was supposed to be a cheerleader, or football is my passion. And when I became a cheerleader, I didn't want to do that anymore because at my first cheerleading practice, we used to have pep rallies, and we got to wear our skirts. And these boys, after the pep rally, kept flipping my skirt up. And I was going up these stairs, and they kept doing that. And one of the kids grabbed my foot and pulled me down hard. And it hurt my tailbone. In fact, I went to the emergency room. I was in a brace. But those boys never got in trouble. Those boys should have been reprimanded. My teachers covered up. My principal covered up. My mom paid that hospital bill. My mom's like, and how come I didn't know what happened? I said, Mom, you didn't ask questions. That's why you paid that hospital. That's why I was in there. That's why I was injured. I said, and after that, I lied to my teacher and said that my family told me I couldn't cheerlead. And my aunt went down there and she was like, she's lying. It's not that. We never told her she couldn't cheerlead. And I didn't want to cheerlead because I didn't want to be treated like that. I had just gotten raped during the summer, and then these guys are doing this to me. I don't want to be a cheerleader. I want to play football. I want to go hit somebody.
There you go.
That's why I love football. That's why I want to play football.
You know what's funny? I just told that to someone this morning. If you have to go punch a fucking punching bag, go punch. It football feels great. So in your case, was beating some boys up.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go do.
There she is. She's back.
Football comes in.
She's back. She's smiling.
It's football.
Yeah.
It's football.
You know what sucks? What sucks is that I'm trying to give you time to breathe. What sucks is that my sister finally opened up, because she heard my brother open up on the podcast that he was molested by the same guy that I warned my mother about. And because I told my mom, hey, this guy tried to get my pants off, and I was 15. I don't know what the hell's going on, and she made it seem like this was something normal, right? She continued to allow this guy in our lives, right? So when my brother opened up about it, that the same guy that tried to do that to me did it to him for 2 weeks, I guess it opened up my sister's wounds and stuff, and she opened up, and by her opening up, it just cost a bunch of fucking, can of worms and shit. And it's like they got into a fight. They were arguing back and forth. My grandmother just passed away, and this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And when I spoke to my mom back in August, well, why did she barely bring it up? I don't know. She had it buried inside because you didn't fucking believe her for 15 years.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is for me too.
So how is that my fault? She opened up. She got it off her chest. She heard that our brother opened up. So she felt like opening up as well. And that's my fault? Because you continue to trust the wrong guys around us? And that's one of the big reasons why I got custody of my kids, was because I kept on proving to the courts that my baby's mom kept on bringing the wrong type of individuals in my kids' lives.
I'm so glad that you got custody.
Sadly, one of them was murdered. You know,
what?
He was murdered because he was in a gang. I told baby's mama, he's walking around with a fucking bat. There's a reason why there's a bat in the car. It was my daughter's pink baseball bat. So one day when they came over, I opened the fucking door and I grabbed a baseball bat. Let's see how much of a man you are now without this. So after he had left my baby's mom and everything, he was walking down the street going home and he was murdered. That day I fucking cried, not because he was murdered. No one should die. I'm not saying that I cried because no one should die. But he was murdered. I was crying because it didn't happen in front of my kids.
Oh.
That's why I was crying. And then pretty much a few months later, full custody of the kids. Because of the individuals that you bring into our kids' lives, that eventually is going to endanger their lives.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. And, and that's not, he wasn't the only one that was, that was doing things to me. I had a great uncle that was molesting me. And because I didn't know boundaries or spaces, and because our first podcast, I talked about wanting love or finding love.
Right.
I didn't know what was acceptable. And I was accepting this type of behavior from these men. And I was accepting that might be love, or that's how I should be treated. And it's not a question of because people always say, well, you must have enjoyed it. And I said, that's pretty fucked up to say that shit.
At 8 years old's not going to enjoy that. An 8-year-old's not going to enjoy that.
No, a 7-year-old. Starts at 7. So that's when he started molesting me. Like I said, I was always with my grandmother, so I was always going to El Paso. And that's my worst memories, is that's where it's all started. And then he got put in prison, and he didn't have any place to go, and he ended up in my hometown, and then ended up more close. So it was happening more frequently. And then I was just like, I couldn't escape it. But like I got out of there as soon as I could. 17 years old, I graduated high school super early. I wanted to get out of there. Like, it was Austin, Texas was my destination. It was, I was like, I gotta get as far away I can of this place. And that's what I did, to create something new, to be a different person. I almost wanted a different identity.
Well, don't penalize El Paso for your uncle. My grandma lived there. My grandpa lived there. My brothers lived there. And 3 of them are pretty good people. 2 of them are gone, but they're pretty good people.
It's just one of those things that invokes, those memories.
Exactly. If there's a song that comes on the radio that reminds me of my upbringing, it makes me cry. Or if there's a song that reminds me of the relationship with the mother of my kids, it makes me cry. And so, no, yeah, you're right. And sadly, in this case, it's El Paso. Yeah. Not even Chico's Tacos will get you over there? Those made me sick.
There's Chico's Tacos in Austin, too.
Is there? Okay. Does it make you sick, too?
Yeah.
My brother's if it doesn't make you sick, they weren't real.
If you're not on the shitter.
Yeah. We all got sick that night.
Yeah. That hot sauce was not hot enough.
I'm glad you're laughing again.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, that's what's good about conversation and talking it out. I think that's the importance of your podcast, and I think that's important of being able to express yourself to people. Is it makes you feel better, and just in the short time that I even had to. And what's funny is that I had just something new in the whole process. Like I said, the new information. I never really said that out loud in the way that I said it, because I had to think about what I wanted to say. And what, I appreciate your program, that I was able to do that in a way that almost therapeutic. Like I said, it's therapeutic. I cried a little bit, and I needed that cry. I hadn't brought myself to do it yet. And so I value your time for that, and I value you giving me the space to do it. I
had a conversation with an individual this morning about the purpose of my podcast. It was recently brought up to my attention that I use this podcast to just badmouth people. That's not my intention. My intention is to. I said it on my trailer on my TikTok. I have a trailer where it says the purpose of my podcast. It's good therapy. When I started doing it, my wife saw a difference in me. Mm-hmm. You know, because I'm not holding stuff in anymore. I'm letting them out, and I'm letting them out in a way, obviously in front of a microphone, but I'm letting it off. And it is, and like I said jokingly, when I ran out of friends, then I let other people come and share and use it as a therapy session. You know, I've had people on TikTok that've come on twice. This is your third time, and you know you're going to continue to come on because you signed that contract. And I'm glad I'm making you laugh still. And you know, it is a good therapy, and that's what I told this individual in the morning. It's like, you know, people get offended that I vent, but guess what? If I don't vent, I probably shoot myself in the face. You know, you need to be able to get shit off your chest. You should be able to, and if I can't come to certain individuals to get it off my chest, then who the fuck am I supposed to go to? Mm-hmm. You know, I can only talk to the same person so many times. You know, like I said, Roger, it's funny because my wife calls me in the mornings, and I'm like, babe, it's coffee time with Roger. You know, because we almost talk every day. But the reason why I take Ricky's conversations a little bit more serious because he's actually kind of involved in the situation. Mm-hmm. Roger's just an outsider. I love Roger. He listens to what I have to say. I hear him vent and stuff. And but when it comes to Ricky, he's more involved in the situation. Yeah. You know. But Roger, like I said, hey, I told him one day, you know, because Roger and I have like heart-to-heart conversations, and he also uses me. There's people that he uses me to vent to. I had people on the podcast, on TikTok, that they're just having their videos, and one guy was all miserable and crying almost, and I typed on there, hey, bro, everything's going to be okay, man. Trust me, there's always someone out there that had it worse. That evening, I'm having a conversation from a guy in Florida on our phones, and he's just venting about what's happening to him, and I tell him what's happened to me, and he said, holy shit, you had it worse. You know. Yeah.
It's funny you said that because that's what happened to me a few days ago. There was a girl that was following me on my Instagram. We've been like chit-chatting throughout the year, but it's not like conversations. It's just like every now and again,
right?
You know, hey, I like your outfit, or oh my gosh, girl, you're slaying, whatever. Well, this last week, she just called me and she was talking about she's Muslim, and she was giving me the lowdown on her culture and what's going on in her life right now. And I told her that I want to do a podcast to give somebody a platform, you know, a space for people to speak. And she was saying to me, and that, so I guess so in her culture, they believe that everybody over here is just fruitful and have money. And even if she's been through the series of medical school or, you know, her bachelor's, it's her time to marry. And in her culture, they do arranged marriages. She also has alopecia. So she's kind of being defeated because every time she finds a match, the person doesn't want to match because she has alopecia. And it kind of just like one of those really stupid, like, and I'd always tell her, you know, those are automatically red flags. You don't want to try to make it work with somebody like that. Well, they said that so it's her time. She's at the age, and her family are trying to convince her to marry a cousin. And I was like, bro. And she was like, she finally broke down on me. And she was like, I just feel like you see all your posts, and then, you know, I feel like I can talk to you. And I think also because of my posts, my platform, and what I want to do with my future and why I'm speaking is so that people can feel comfortable and have a space to talk to me where otherwise they cannot. Like she says, I cannot talk to people in my family. And right now, she lives in Canada. And although they're provided healthcare in Canada, they're not provided mental health care. So any of that's extra. So she'd be paying a therapist so much more money. And if we could get together and do a podcast where anybody could talk about what's going on, even in a safe space where they don't have to give their identity, just their voice, that story helps people. And that's the kind of environment I want to create in the future when I go on to promote my book, when I go on to, you know, publish my book, you and I talking, wherever we're going with this. I hope that we have more episodes in the future and we bring more people to this platform. because it's healthy for us to talk. Mental health is important. We don't talk about those things. Like I said, I'll keep going to, that might be the title of my book. I might just change it. We don't talk about those things, the things we don't talk about growing up, because that's true and it's important. That you shouldn't be reprimanded for speaking up. You shouldn't be reprimanded for speaking your mind or telling the truth or even having feeling or compassion to somebody, but compassion in a way that respects yourself and humbles yourself, and you respect the other person as well, and be cautious and weary of their healing as well. And that's what we are doing here, and that's what's positive.
Talking and getting stuff off your chest was pretty much my whole morning. And helping someone understand it from my point of view, pretty much, wear my shoes and understand why I felt this way. If you feel that I'm bad-mouthing certain individuals on my podcast, then that just reminds me of what my mother has done to me my whole life, was accuse me of shit that I've never done, where at one point she even turned my siblings against me. Now, I don't want that to happen again. So if I got upset and I'm keeping my distance because this is how I feel and how I feel I can't come to you to talk to you, so yes, it should be 100% healthy to talk. And where
great.
Nobody gets offended and nobody has to call anybody a liar, and nobody, you know what I mean? Like I said, I know what it's like to be called a liar. I know the feeling. It's funny because Linkin Park has a song and it says, I know what it feels like to lie, the lyrics in the song, and I take that lyric very personal, because the people, what's the point of that? I've been accused of saying things.
Exactly. You take it to heart because exactly. And whenever you're not believed, I think that's what we are as human, is that our word is supposed to be, our word. When somebody, like back in the old days, when a man gave you your word, it was a handshake in your word. You honored that. So for me, honesty is something very valuable to me. And like I said, I never wanted to dishonor my family, my parents, my grandmother, and my grandfather. So being honest for me was very, at a very young age, was I needed to be honest, because I saw that not being honest pushed people away.
Right.
And when I chose to be honest and I saw that it still hurt, I still wanted to be honest. And even to this day, like I tell my kids, it's important for you to be honest with me. We're honest with each other, because then I can help you through the problem. We can figure out a solution, because I love you. There's no doubt that I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to be able to feel that. So whenever you go on to your partner and if you do have that connection with somebody, I want you to be able to have that. And even if they weren't taught that, you can teach it to them, because y'all need that space. Because remember, everybody has some sort of trauma. Everybody has some sort of healing that needs to be done, whether it's from a loss of a family member, whether it's physical trauma, mental trauma, emotional trauma, if it's, even going overseas and being a soldier in our war, all that. You have to be able to accept that you get to give somebody space to heal, and that they're going to give you that same space too. And that's creating that environment. And we as adults have to create that space.
Exactly. Marlena, it's a little over an hour now. Again, like I've said the last 2 weeks, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the podcast. And you are welcome to come back again next week and whatever. We're going to make Ricky 100% fucking jealous. And like I end every podcast, Marlena, thank you for riding with me.
Hey, thank you for having me, Andy. We're still them boys.
We still them boys.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Andy podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.